everyone. I'm so happy to have everyone here tonight. We have special guest Kamora Jones with us, also known as Art Soldier 77. So, if you have been on Instagram or Pinterest just looking around at a lot of different spiritual art, you may have seen some of her spiritual art, and she actually does art where she emulates all of these different ET beings, and this light language is encoded into the work. And anyone who looks at it, I'm sure they can tell you that they've gotten downloads or just being able to really connect with the art and the beings themselves. It is truly otherworldly. And I implore you to go ahead and look her up if you haven't seen her artwork yet. But we're so honored and so blessed to have her on the show tonight. So hello, Kamora. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here. It's an honor, and it's just really great to connect with everyone. Thank you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Start telling us a little bit about how you got into this in the first place and maybe what you do.
Well, I grew up, I was always an artist. My mom says I started drawing and painting when I was 3, and that just sort of continued. I had a lot of different teachers, but the thing that happened in my youth and in my teenage years was that I got very religious, got into the Christian church. And this is not going to be bashing on any churches or anything, but got really religious, got very much into the Christian Bible, into the study of the Christian Bible, got very much into the study of the metaphysical aspects of Christianity, like the visions from Isaiah, the visions from Ezekiel, the seraphim, the cherubim, Book of Revelation, things that maybe, the average person didn't really want to talk about. But it was a bit of a fascination for me in trying to understand this concept of the spiritual realm. And like, is it parallel? Is it in conjunction with what we see? Is it this invisible thing, kind of like the subatomic world? I was trying to figure out all these things, albeit through a very Christian lens. As I got older, I went to my arts high school I went to was like a conservatory, and so we got intensive photorealistic art training, just your fundamentals. Went to art college, studied media arts and animation, started working for a game dev department directly after that. I'm currently an art director for said department. But in 2017, 2016, many years after I had left the church, that many years after my spouse and I had left the church, I felt this calling. I felt this enrapturement, kind of back into a spiritual modality, into a spiritual mindset. And I feel like maybe my guides or God or whoever was kind of speaking to me. And so started studying psychedelic concepts, started studying metaphysical concepts, read Journey of Souls by Michael Newton, read some other things by other people that were more into the psychedelic space, and just tried to understand like what I needed to do. And so 2017, cannabis became legal in Vegas. And I didn't want to do anything harder than that. So I decided, so I'd read somewhere that, cannabis edibles could help to maybe destabilize the mind, could, maybe bring you into an altered state. I had had lucid dreams my whole life, spiritual dreams, metaphysical dreams, my whole life. And so basically it was more of a trying to connect with who I am and how I connect with source. And from 2017 on has been a journey of that. And 2017, I would come home from work, I would get into that mind space, I would start drawing, and I started seeing a lot of spiritual art like online on Instagram. And there was something inside me that's like, okay, you need to do your version of it. You need to do your version of what this connection actually looks like. And you can put your sort of scientific and your metaphysical and your creative energy into it, and let's see what comes out. And that's where Transmigration Series came from. And if you look back in the, sort of in the timeline through like Instagram or whatever, you can kind of see that the ET energy started a little bit later in the series, but it was sort of like this coming back to, how could humans evolve? How can we become better? How can we get into more of a utopian mindset? And why aren't we there? And my learning has just been advancing since then. And I'm currently at a space that I wasn't at in 2017. And so we can talk more about that as well.
Wow, that's super fascinating because, I was just talking with some people around me and some other artists about how when you are looking at like all of the creativity that's in the world, there has never been your brand of creativity ever before. And It's like you take an orange and you split that orange into two pieces. Yeah, it's still an orange, but this cut is uniquely this cut, and so is this one. And yeah, so I absolutely resonate with what you're saying about that. That's really beautiful. And I actually had a question that I wanted to ask, which was, when you are getting into these states where you're doing this art, do you find that it's kind of like a normal everyday mindset that you just sit down and you're drawing, or is it noticeably different when you're like, say, walking around versus when you're sitting there drawing? Does it feel like a trance, I guess?
There are a few different modes that I find myself in, and some of this has to do with the mindset that I'm in for the day. As I've been drawing and painting, and by the way, Coffee, you're an amazing artist, by the way. Your visuals are beautiful. So the thing is that I've been drawing and painting since I was a kid. So that my best friend is drawing and painting. It's my way of understanding and interfacing with the world and with the components of the world. And when you think about the space between the individual and like a chair or a desk, speaking philosophically, you're analyzing these things and you're analyzing them through your mindset and through your conditioning. For an artist, for a person who draws specifically, we're trying to analyze and trying to understand the geometric forms, but we're also trying to understand our relationship with it. So how do you draw that? How do you paint that? So when it comes to going into the trance state, because when I was a Christian, I did a lot of Christian spiritual art too. I felt like I was really trying to do my due diligence to connect with whatever energies were trying to drive me, were trying to say something. But also, it wasn't just about that. At the end of the day, it is kind of about you as well in your journey, then whatever contract this is that you signed up for. And so there is some of me in it, but sometimes I do try to deliberately get into a deep sort of trance state in order to get an idea. And I have a technique that I sort of engineered that kind of came to me like during this whole 2017 on this proprietary technique that's kind of like a me stepping outside of myself, so my soul sort of detaching from my body a little bit to ask the question, so I can come from this place of purity. I don't That's not a really relevant word, but from a place of purity, and
Yes. Oh
something
my
to create
gosh.
something I can share with people. Yeah.
Right, right. And that's so exciting to hear that from you, actually, because just recently you've totally inspired me. I just need to say that, like, all of your art and all of your whole journey, like, expressing in all these different ways your way of connecting with these extraterrestrial beings through your own artistic vision. I've been getting more and more into like a channeling art journey myself. And when you just said that, that reminded me of like a small experience I had when I was trying to channel. I found for myself the best way I could do it was, yeah, asking a question, like getting into a meditative state, asking a question, asking these beings to show themselves, and then having them appear in my mind's eye. And then I just immediately like sketch down what I've seen. And then I can kind of develop that in my own artistic voice afterwards. But
Right.
yeah, so
Right,
cool.
right. Absolutely. No, that's awesome. That's the way it goes, right? But we're all on individual journeys. And so one of the things I want to stress as we go farther is, you can actively choose not to believe anything I say. I'm on my own journey. I've come to these different realizations and these different portals, of development. And I currently have a therapist right now. I'm working on some trauma stuff. And so when it comes to a mental health point of view, it is also always important to get a licensed professional to kind of help you move through different places that maybe you can't get through your standardized spiritual mindset. It's really important to be all encompassing, to be a full dimensional, multidimensional individual, and to recognize that you are that. And so, hey, good on you. Kudos to you for being on
Thank
your
you.
journey. Yeah.
You too. And that's so funny you say that too, because I've been getting those downloads recently as well. I like to think all of my friends and all the people that have are going through similar like themes, which is it's so fun to see those synchronicities. But yeah, the spiritual and the physical, we're here to be both of those. So equally we have to incorporate all of those different elements. So you make a very good point with that. And then let's see. So I really liked what you said here about the link between the soul, the identity, and the expression of an individual, how the soul works with the human biological system and nature to evolve itself. Would you mind expanding on that?
So if we look at standard sort of contemporary spiritual concepts that aren't so contemporary, like reincarnation, but even more modern concepts in reincarnation, the way that we understand them collectively as a society, the soul has been developing over a long period of time. And even though it's, when the body dies and the soul goes back and it, has its sort of, and then it decides what it wants to do, right? Makes the contract, decides what the next thing is, or concurrently decides that, however you want to look at it. The soul is constantly in this state of growing and evolving. Some would say that that's like the soul trying to become more godlike. Some would say it like that. Some would say that the soul is its own sort of being, that it's a child of God, if you will, and that it is trying to illuminate itself and trying to become more like unto source. Or that the soul itself is some other type of elementary being, and that the collective, us as a collective of souls, is also trying to expand and trying to expand consciousness almost in the way that a system, an evolutionary system evolves. And so there are a lot of ways to look at the soul, but if you look at it as an organism of the cosmos, an organism of consciousness, right? An organism of the collective, then maybe, and look at it from a scientific point of view, then we're all pouring knowledge into the collective through the data we collect throughout our lifetimes, right? So humans, any creature on the earth, right? Uh, Biologically evolved over a long period of time. You could look at it that way. You don't have to remove that from the spiritual element. Okay. So souls have been incarnating and coming into different bloodlines. This bloodline that you come into has its own biological system. It has its own genetic system. So you can bring in different types of trauma. You can bring in different types of things. As a soul, you're jumping into that. And then you have the brain. The brain is like a limiter, you know? It's not like you are when you're in your pure soul state where you can see 360 degrees and you have access to everybody's information and everything like that. No, you are filtered. You're like a horse with the blinders on and you're in this mode of trying to have these certain types of experiences in this character, this avatar that is limited and that is challenged by everything around it. Hence all the, I think, hence all the wars and all the conflict, throughout human history. And so someone like me, someone who has this realization about their gender identity or their gender expression, I was totally born in the right body. It's just that the way that I'm choosing to express myself is just a unique way to how I've chosen to express myself through the contract that I've made through what I've come here to do. So there could be a fate element, and people hate that word, right? But if God or source or us as God, us as a collective of source, has decided that this is the way we're going to do it, and we're going to all sign up for different missions or different schools, hmm, interesting. You can get as mad as you want, but everyone is going to go through their mission. But maybe your mission is to question what I'm doing, and my mission is to stand out and to say, screw you, I'm going to do it anyway. And so you get these interesting knowledge transformations and these interesting evolutions. And, sometimes that's how you leave the world. Sometimes that's how you come into the world. And it's very interesting to me that I used to have this modality, and I'll stop talking in a second. I used to have this idea that everything needs to be utopian. Like when I came into this current metaphysical spiritual path, I'm like, why aren't we better? Maybe it's not about that. Maybe it's just about, maybe for me, it's about that. Okay. But maybe for you, it's about something else. Maybe for all the parties involved in World War II, maybe it was about proving different things. And there's all sorts of sociological studies on what that is. If you're in ancient times in some small village and some larger entity decides they want to take you over, they want to encompass you because you have the natural resources you need, that's a whole thing right there. And I can look at it and I can judge them. But I also, if maybe I didn't incarnate in that time phase, having that mindset, I maybe don't understand what that was all about. I maybe don't
Right.
understand what's going on during Yeshua's time or doing, Buddha's time. Like, so there are all these different things going on. And I can take this American look at things and say, why isn't it like this? And that's a very limiting viewpoint. So I just wanted to share that. So the soul goes into
Yeah.
a body, it goes into a family, it has an experience, it collects that data. That data is always going back into the records. Other people are able to access that data, other parts of you, maybe other parallels of you are having experiences. And it's one big system, library of information that we can all access. So it is, of course, still, because I am the way I am, still baffling to me that we aren't more evolved. But also, it doesn't mean that it works like that. It could be something, the system could be something very different.
Right, right. Wow. I love how you put that actually, because it kind of brings me back to a couple different, I've seen a lot of conversations online regarding, oh, um, but, God made everyone perfect. And it's like, yes, he did, because we're perfectly supposed to have the perfect journey that we were meant to perfectly have. So there are no mistakes. There really are none because we're actually living the life exactly how we're supposed to live it in the body we're supposed to live it in the whatever on our own specific journeys. And I feel like some of these people making these arguments miss that, or it's like black and white but there's like a gray area, but it's like no, it's just how it is.
Mhm.
It's just perfect how it is. So
Or
I
maybe
celebrate that.
Or
Yeah,
maybe we're in an chamber. Maybe the way we connect, maybe we're not in the same soul group, right? But maybe the way
yeah.
we connect is that we're in the same echo chamber. And somebody out here is supposed to push me so that at some point in time, I came to a point to where, I came out, I'm becoming more authentic. And then, that pushing, that prodding, that being in the church and having people be like, oh, no, you're not supposed to study that. You're supposed to study this, that brought me to this place of Transmigration Series. And so, there's something to be said about really counting the blessings of those who challenge you and maybe
Mm,
those who seek to hurt you. But the love that comes from retrospectively understanding that you don't have to accept it, you don't have to like the person. I think you have to be wise, but understanding what that did to you, but also for you is a part of the journey as well. And so it's all very interesting to me. I don't know, I'm learning a lot these days.
I bet every day is like a really wonderful journey. Like, yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of
Okay,
course. Yeah.
let's see. Okay, the link between consciousness and creativity slash creative endeavors.
Mm,
Expand on that for us.
right, right. So I have always had this affinity for drawing. You have this affinity for art as well. Someone else has an affinity for science, another one affinity for religion in like a hard doctrinal kind of way, right? And so the thing about it is that, you know, God is this being that creates things. Let's keep it basic. So one of the problems I had with the church is that they would teach God as this disciplinarian, this tyrannical individual who sends people to hell and is jealous and wants to destroy the world and destroy the world once and said, "Oh, I'm not going to do it again." And but then there's like this devil, and this devil like has power to like hurt people if God gives him permission. And there's all these like really conflicting things like in the Christian Bible. Okay. I don't see that. And this is just me. I don't see that. What I see is I see an earth, I see a world that is bound by creativity, that is boundless. I see a universe that is expanding, as science tells us, right? And it expanded, the singularity expanded through chaos. What to us would seem violent. It would seem chaotic. It would seem like, these fissioning particles, and this heat that was hotter than hot, right? And it created these particles, and these particles evolved, right? And these particles, had this potential. There's a potentiation going on, and then that gave way to matter, and then matter is crashing into itself, and there's all these different things going on, right? And eventually you get this creative thing, but it was creative from the beginning, purely from a scientific standpoint. What I see, and so when you look at the world, they'll pave a street, and then like the weeds grow up through the street, right? So the genetics of the weeds are not governed by religious doctrine, they just grow. Creatures in the wild just do what they do. We, as much as we say we're religious and spiritual, do whatever the heck we want to do. Nobody's that religious. Nobody's that spiritual. We just are. And so what I see is this creative simulation, if you will, if you want to call it that, where things just grow and they manifest. And if you look at it from a linear time standpoint, things do evolve. Technology evolves, perception evolves. We realize, oh crap, nuclear technology really was not great for us, you know. Um, and so I see a source consciousness that is nothing but intelligence and creativity. and it is not limited by anyone's desires or profession or perceptions or anybody's rules or anybody's anything. And I see that very much from people in positions of leadership. And so when people say, oh, it's supposed to work this way, and oh, we want to go back to like the good times, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? We are in this space of pure creativity. We're learning, we're reconnecting with who we are, right? We have more creative tools than we've ever had. We want to go back to the better time. What time are you talking about? You're talking about when slavery was normal, right? Was normalized. It still is in some parts of the world. So I see a God who is trying to, shall I say, trying to experience things that maybe God can't experience in God's dimension. If we are indeed God, then we are also experiencing things as God in different forms, as horses, snakes, cows, humans, beings on a different world. And so for me, the creativity of source is boundless and limitless. And I can see this world as this very negative, very antagonistic place, or I can see it as a canvas by which I can create something introspective for people to think about what we can become. So I do not believe that, so humans have this, perception that, it's going to be all bad. There's so many people who like the apocalyptic movies, and I don't get it. I don't get it. What, you don't want it to be good? Like we can't make it good? We can't make it awesome? It's awesome. It's pretty awesome right now, in most parts of the world, not everywhere. So
Yeah.
I see nothing but a creative God, and I see nothing but a creative experience. And I'm not saying that, I'm not claiming to understand all the attributes of God, if God is the singular entity sitting in a space, in a centralized component space. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that that's not what I see. And I do not believe that God is that. I don't believe that God is that linear. I believe that God is this creative being and wants us to be as creative as possible and compassionate to one another. And that's just what I see. Yeah.
So beautiful. Yeah, I totally agree with that sentiment too, because every time I go about explaining what creativity is, it is the essence of creation itself.
Yeah.
And us as human beings, we have the gift of creativity, of literally making things from the like etheric realm, pulling that into the physical world, making all these energies into something real. Like that is godly power right there. And the
Yes.
fact that people still, like, some people still don't agree that we are Christ consciousness, we are, the second coming of Jesus, is like, oh my gosh, where have you been, where's your head at? But yeah, I like to also live in a world where the creator that I associate with is one that is just this all loving entity that is also totally non-judgmental. So it's like it doesn't have these human perceptions of right and wrong. And like whether you think that's like good or not, or however, it's in how do you say that? Oh, I'm sure you guys get what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And with what you're saying as well, it's this idea that like, I want to believe that I have to be, this one thing. But also the things that humans do to each other are the things that humans do to each other. You don't have to like antagonize other people. You can be content with the resources you have in your country. We can be content as Americans with what we have, right? But we've chosen, and then we want to blame like the devil or God or whatever. We've chosen to be this or that, right? And to say, oh, you people need to act like that, or you need to act like that. When in essence, I'm a creative being. I feel like I need to self-sustain through my own creativity. And I need to be grateful for what I am. And I also need to take stock of my journey path, and to realize that I'm a part of it. And so in being a part of it, there's the spiritual currency that I try to pour into through art. That's how I do it. People do it through technology. Some people do it through caretaking, right? So, it's all very fascinating to me. And I love what you said as well. It's great.
Yeah, it's so just so brilliant, and because we can really see it in your work, absolutely, and lots of people, you've impacted so many lives, so it's right there. And before we go on, I would like to bring Zenka on. here for a minute to speak about some of the things that we have going on at LightNet currently. Um, Zenka, if you would like
Awesome.
to come on here.
Awesome, you guys. Yeah, it's great to have you, Kamora, on the call tonight. You know, your as Coffee was mentioning, you know, your artwork has really influenced so many people. We were just talking before we went live, and Nadi Hana absolutely loved your work. So it's something, you know, as we move into these new worlds, it's like something beyond our minds, right? It's something that is hard to understand any other way. And the Hertogs, JJ and Desiree Hertog, talk about this all the time. They say, like, there's, if you don't use sound and images, like half their books, you know, because it's like your current brain is not going to understand this. So I really see you as an incredible futurist. And I'm popping in because in the middle of our show, we talk about other things that we're doing, and I wanted to share my screen a little bit. We are getting ready to go to Japan. That is right. Erica Rowe is organizing this. We're pulling people together to 100 people out in the middle of nowhere on the water outside of Tokyo. It's going to be in September. And here, you know, the August 10th is when the early bird closes. So just wanted to remind you about that. Ruben Langdon, all sorts of cool people are coming to speak to you guys, as people from the US and also people there in Japan. I also wanted to let you know that Kamora Jones is going to be doing a masterclass, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that. This is for our members, and it's really a chance for you to actually have some direct experience doing some things that she wants to do in terms of, like, how do you do spiritual art techniques and methodology? And Coffee's actually leading her whole team right now. She's doing a channeled artwork team on LightNet, which is really cool. So this is a chance to really get in there. It's an hour and a half. It's going to be on August 29th. And if you click on this, you can buy individual tickets to that, but you can also just get a membership, and you'll have that for the whole year, and you'll be able to do all of the master classes from there. Adham's finishing his Mastering Intuition for members. Also, there's archives as well. And we have a free community connection call for everyone who wants to meet other starseeds. This is a great way to just pop on. We put everybody in groups of 3, so you have this very synchronistic experience. And we're also doing spoon bending this month, and also your language is your limitation. You know, Susan is going to teach you that what you say is actually shaping your subconscious mind. So check that out. The last thing I want to let you know about is, as you know, we think that finding your purpose is the most important thing you can do. As Kamora just talked about, you know, you start getting braver and more brave and more brave, and then you pretty much become who you are. And everyone in your life respects you. And it's like, once you're honest with yourself and doing, it seems like you think the sky is going to fall and everyone's, you know, going to think you're crazy or this or that or whatever. But then they actually admire you for having the courage to do what you wanted to do here, no matter if they agree with you or not. I've seen it 1,000 times. It's absolutely wild. And we're making a film about this, about how people find their purpose. And we've interviewed artists and singers and all sorts of people. And we're going to be filming this next phase, which is the group of 8 to 12 here in Sedona. So if you are like, hey, I want to rediscover my purpose, or I want to discover your purpose, we've taken all of our research from interviewing 100 people, and we're putting people in these teams and all over the world, all over these time zones. And we have one in Sedona, like I said. There's also scholarships available. So if you need a scholarship, you can fly down here to the bottom and fill this out. And we look forward to helping you enter this new phase of your life where you really have the wind at your back. You know, it's like you're almost glowing. So really excited. And Kamora, maybe you can talk a little bit about what you're going to be doing in your masterclass, because we always say, you know, experience is the only way to really learn something is actually trying it out.
So I actually did a prototype class at a local gallery here. It's an indigenous gallery, some really great people. There was a great group show there. And basically I have a slideshow of spiritual art throughout the history of human art. And I kind of take you through that a little bit, show you the way different cultures have approached different things and some of the different symbolisms. That's going to be pretty quick because I want to spend most of the time drawing and painting live and kind of going over how I kind of get from point A to point B, thinking of the canvas as a type of void in which you can extract information out of it. And so that's kind of at the core is a sort of guided drawing, painting technique that people can use in their own artistic practice, in their own metaphysical practice, because it is a sort of feedback between higher self and source consciousness and the mind, the human mind as well. And so trying to get people in that mindset and trying to teach a technique that a person could take and engineer their own methodology from that.
Wow, that's incredible behind the scenes, like of your mind in your studio. It's so cool. Wow.
It's fun stuff, you know. I really think it's important for people to find their own path. That's been one of the biggest journeys for me. It is understanding that I can learn as much as I want from other people, but unless I have my own experiences, I have no real connection with it. And so it isn't to say that I have to, you know, get into my time machine and experience this thing or that thing that happened. It's just me being honest with myself and with those around me regarding what I'm doing, what I want, where I'm going. And so those classes sound really great. So classes sound great. So you guys are doing amazing things.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead, Zinka.
No, that's always
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. We're really excited to be able to have you doing this with us because I'm particularly interested in seeing the paint, like the actual process video of you going along with us. That'll be really fun. And then let's see. So I loved what you said about down here we had spirituality will evolve or become outdated software. That just seemed so interesting to me. Would you mind expanding on that?
So religion, spirituality, these are things that believe that they have immunity in society, in human society. But what you have now is we find ourselves in an age of technology and science and of proofs and of peer review on all sides. And so the question of spirituality, if you think about something like, you know, Christian spirituality, the question is, what is it good for? So to each individual, a religion, a spiritual practice, a devotional practice is useful. It's very useful. Okay. But when you start taking a doctrine and you start forcing it on people and you start seeing that people need to act this way, they need to act that way, that these doctrines are it. If you don't do that, you're going to go to hell. And then you have people with near-death experiences saying they went to hell, right? You have this situation where people are like, do I really need that? No, I don't really need that. You know, I work a lot. I do my art, you know, I know what I want. I have my relationships. I'm making my money, you know, like technology says that this is all a simulation anyway. Like scientists are saying it, spiritualists are saying it. What do I need that religion and that spirituality for if it's just a big simulation anyway? And so we find ourselves in this situation where spirituality can become useful. Religion can become useful, but it has to become useful within the context of one's path and within the context of one's art and within the context of one's philosophy. And so if you are compassionate through a Christian modality, you know, in the way that Yeshua was, you know, and going around healing and imparting the gifts of healing to people, right? Then that's cool, man. Like that's awesome. That's very hippie of you, right? But if you are going around saying that your identity, your perception, you're not going to church, you're not going to our church, you're not following our doctrine, you not aligning, you woman, you dressing like that, you man going out doing this. There is this cognitive dissonance around, you know, that religion is good, that it's good because it teaches morality. But you can be moral and not religious and not spiritual. So the question is, what is your spirituality and your religion adding to the world? Is it adding anything? Is it outdated information? Are you using it? Are you even accessing it? Are you even giving me anything I can work with? Or are you just judging me when I go to get prayed for up the pulpit? What am I getting
Right.
from it? So we have to ask the question, what is it? Even when it comes to metaphysical concepts, metaphysical spirituality. Transmigration series is more of a study for me. It's more of a way for me to integrate the things I've learned in my life, the Christian things, the intellectual things, the scientific things, artistic things, philosophy, sociology. It's a way for me to program ideas into the 2D picture plane, 3D ideas into the 2D picture plane, so that when people when people stand in front of it or they touch it or they look at it, they get that information, they get that download. For me, that's not spiritual as much as it is informational. It's a way to inspire someone to create and to evolve spirituality into what it can be, which is useful, because in many ways it isn't.
Right, right. Wow. Do you actually mind showing us like some of your favorite pieces that have had the most like impact on you recently?
Oh, I can do that. Let's see real quick here. Let me see if I can share my screen. You mean for my series? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, from your series, because yeah, I really like what you're saying, and yeah, absolutely. I think, we are as a collective just evolving to these new places where we're understanding that anything that is creating this mass separation on such big scales, like kind of what we're seeing in the news and stuff like that, we're becoming aware of these drawbacks. And everybody has to make their own choice. We're making our own choices to either become more aligned to each other or not.
Yeah, yeah. Can you guys see this okay?
Yeah.
And by the way, Kamora, I put all your links into the chat too if you need a quick link to anything, but this is great.
Oh yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, so it's yeah, I mean check out the links, but as you can see here, Transmigration series is the story interwoven in it is that there are these beings who are trying to help humans evolve. Okay. And this evolution is a type of consciousness upgrade. So these beings are using consciousness as a type of technology. And so through this technology, they found this communication system, like a telephone network, like a communications network, and this hyperlinking between souls. So if you think of souls as nodes, right? As nodes within a system, you start getting this idea that I have information, you have information, this being over here in this other reality frame has information. And that by hooking up and connecting, we can share this information. And maybe we can get different types of expansiveness that we wouldn't get in our own reality frame. That's basically the essence of the Transmigration series. If you look here, you have two beings. They're playing with a type of computer construct in their reality that has to do with three-dimensional forms, but inputting information into three-dimensional forms so that anyone can access it in a portal-like construct. And all this other information you see around it is like their vegetation that they have on their planet. But they also have found this way to put computer systems into their bodies, in a sense, so that they can access more information, so that they can share information, so that learning is not this 12-year process to get all your fundamentals. It's like a matter of minutes. And so when I think about this from a spiritual point of view, right? If you think about how information is shared, information can be shared through art. It doesn't have to be this long, drawn out, course and coursework, where you have peer review. It's something you can share in such a fundamental, visual, audible way, right? And so what I'm trying to teach is this idea that we are all coming from these different backgrounds and that these informations we're putting into our words, into our relationships have power. And you want to be careful with how you use that power, how you share that power. And what I mean by that is you want to think about the biggest yield, the greatest, most beautiful yield you can have. These beings here are in a type of lab. You can see the being on the bottom here is laying down in a sort of meditative state. The astral body raises up and is connecting with a larger, higher source construct that is trying to understand the chakras. Who's to say that these beings have chakras? Maybe they have a completely different system, right? But what you have over here is on the left over here, you have these three individuals who are discussing the philosophical concepts and the implications of chakras. Down here on the right, you have this taller being and this shorter being here. Shorter being maybe asking the question, why is this so important? You have the beings over here on the far right underneath this huge data window, and they're connecting. They're having a connection relative to the data that's being extracted from this experience. You have this being in the upper middle left here who's just analyzing it purely from a data standpoint, right? Just trying to understand it in a way that maybe they can take back to their colleagues and you can sort of, maybe discuss, what can we do with this, right? And then you have this other one up top here who's, developed a sort of mathematical model of this whole construct here. And so what you get from images like this, when I get these downloads, when I draw this, a lot of this is about trying to show humans that not only just that we have like a long way to go, but that why can't we figure out a way to evolve our understanding of the moment, of what we have, through a compassionate, through a scientific, through an artistic modality. Why is currency still the driving force behind creations and the driving force between inventions? Why is it such a struggle to get more humans into space? It comes down to money. I'll build you this engine if you give me this funding. I will build you this engine if you give me power in Congress. I'll do this for you if you do that. It's this tit for tat. It isn't to say that we can't have value, but there are a lot of things we could be doing. There are a lot of things we can learn from creating a holistic system that serves everyone, a type of spiritual currency, a type of creative currency, if you will. And so what I'm doing right now, and I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm working on the first issue of the comic book right now, is what I'm working on. And I'm using a competition. I'm using a competition to get the chapter 0 done. And I'll be able to show more after the 31st. And it's just a way for me to talk about spiritual concepts in sort of a practical, creative kind of way for nowadays. Not for 1500s, not for 1800s, but for now, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so there's just ways to think of it. So that's just kind of a primer of how you might want to think about it. You have these two beings down here. They're looking at this architectural structure. These particular beings in this research city are thinking about perception. And so they're creating these holographic perception realities in the form of planets. And so if you have the right technology, you can connect with each planet, which is a completely different type of reality frame, which is in a sense kind of what you're doing on a daily basis by walking through your life and having the experiences you're having.
Yes.
So feel free to go through and look, when you have time and think about, how it applies to you and what kind of art you want to create, because it isn't just about me. It's about what you want to do. Yeah.
That last one was absolutely beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah. It's just my way of expressing who I am. It's my way of learning. And we all have something very beautiful inside of us. And I hope that each one of you can express that and to not be afraid. Learn your fundamentals of your craft, whatever that may be, and do something with it and share with us. We need it. I need it. I need it. Sometimes I'm in a really bad mood. Somebody says something, somebody shows me a piece of art, somebody shows me a creation, and it enlightens me. So being squeezed into this human body I'm in, I have a lot to learn as well as a soul having a human experience. There's things that I need to learn. And so my art is very much a part of my experience, and it's very much me asking others to share with me as well.
I love that. I love that so much. And yeah, every piece of art, it feels like it's so well thought out, and even like the composition, how they're posed, it's so etheric and just so otherworldly, the ideas that you're able to communicate across. Like, you will explain to me one meaning that you created the art with, like how you had that whole story going on between all these different characters. And then I can have also a completely different experience of the art separately, and then 10 other people. It's like when you create the art, yes, you're creating it kind of for yourself to explore these different worlds, but it will have a specific meaning for any person who looks at it. And I really like this one thing that this philosopher said about art, which is that it is a mirror for this person, but it is slightly different for everyone. Like, it's a slightly different reflection for everyone who looks into it. And so yeah, like yeah, this piece right here, it's that's gorgeous. I love the color composition. I love how it's like a bunch of different planes and circles, and I can interpret that as like several different things, you know? I can even see, oh, and there's larger circles going around him, like spinning. That's so fascinating.
And like you said, Copy, thanks for sharing what you shared. Think about this too. Skill, so skills building, so taking the time to learn your craft, right? As visual artists, we learn about composition, color, design, line, form, structure. Composition is about the relationship between objects on the page, right? Or in the image or on the screen. And so the more you learn about your craft, the more it can be used and can be channeled through you and can be visualized in a way that is pleasing to maybe more people, not just you. Because you don't have to get training to do art, right? To create art. One of the reasons why AI is so popular is because people are like, oh crap, I don't have to learn art. It's like I don't have to learn visual art. I don't have to learn, musical art. But yes, you kind of do. Like if you have something to say, then learning those fundamentals, learning about composition just in general, purely from a photographic standpoint, can help you create a story within an image so that when you're getting to download whatever technique you're doing to get your download into your mind, and then so that that filters through into your hands or however it is you create, you have more tools, more mental tools, more mental skill and acumen and aptitude to work with. And so building up your skills, learning if you're a visual artist, drawing, painting, taking some classes, taking some figure drawing classes. So maybe you don't have to like go the way of finding a reference every single time. And then you could just kind of get into that mindset. You can be like a conduit, right? My drawings looked very different when I was 12. You know, my drawings look very different now. I've been working in corporate for the last 17 years. I'm currently an art director in my game dev studio that I work in. And there's so much I've learned about visual communication and color and design and about typography and about if you put this color next to this color, it means this. So there's a language around every single thing you do in every discipline, no matter what it is. And so if all you have is the bare bones of I've been drawing with crayons since I was little, yeah, you can do a lot with that. Okay. But there's skills that can help you communicate even better. And what you see in the Transmigration series is a very specific type of style and modality. And I'm using different design techniques and concepts. It isn't just channeled information. It's also very structural, and very much based on years of training. So that's just me encouraging you to, whatever discipline you're in, whatever you're doing, to take it seriously, take some courses, maybe do college, if you can afford it.
Right, right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and we can definitely see the structure in all of these too. And I think all of the like technological light language helps to reinforce these shapes that you're creating.
Yeah.
And like how you can see here, yeah, you're just sketching out the pose that you like, and it's like a body language that you're communicating as well. And that houses a lot of emotion, knowing what body language, shape language to pick for a specific art piece can really influence the mood and the tone and all these things that you're looking to create, which words can't possibly describe. So it's like art is a language in and of itself, that has nothing to do with English or Spanish, or it's multidimensional. It is, can be communicated across the whole universe, so long as someone has a kind of a reference, they know that's a being,
Yeah.
But so I really appreciate that approach to it. And yeah, I know there are some, debates going around the internet about how, oh, people are so afraid that AI art is going to take over the art industry, but that can never possibly happen, because what we have as humans to give and to create, we're connecting with other humans through our expression of art, our specific artistic voice that is only ours, that can't be replicated by an AI computer. That is what humans are connecting to. And that is why art is so important in culture. Somebody, for example, goes through a breakup and they're heartbroken and they are wondering, has anyone else ever felt like this before? And then, bam, they see this art piece that suddenly communicates the whole of it with no words. And they're like, wow, I'm not alone. So yeah, it's very important. It's very important.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love everything you said. Even in everybody has an opinion about this. Even in the game dev, the company that I work for, every once in a while somebody will come with like an AI image and say, "Hey, we should do something like this." And then everybody else is like, "Yeah, put that away." Like nobody cares about that. Like that's a nice little reference you have there, but we need to actually create something that the company can own. We need to create something we can use. We need to create something that comes from our hands and from our mind, even from purely from a copywriting standpoint.
Hmm.
Copyright offices won't copyright AI images. So when you're talking about machine learning images or machine learning modes that, take from the like steal from the like scratch from the internet. Um, yeah, some people are using it for reference in the professional art spaces, but
Yeah,
some
I
aren't.
agree with that
Yeah,
particularly. Like it's a cool tool to be able to quickly get a point across. Like, okay, I want a blue mermaid with like this kind of lighting. Show me what this looks like. Okay, yeah, I kind of like this, but if you as the artist can take this and actually have the light over here and add some fish in this corner, like do this in your own style. This is what I want. That's
that's
a
it.
great way to use it.
That's it. That's it. Do it in your own style. And so I'm very much, I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm very much against like machine learning art. But I can't like as a professional, like I can look and say, oh, some really good ideas. That's really beautiful. That's really cool. It's a really good mixture of things. I mean, just, when you think about the idea of let's talk about, the creative universe, God is creativity. It exists. It's not going anywhere. Okay. And so when you talk about the concept of love everything, love everyone, right? There's something beautiful about some of these different things that are generated. I'm not using them. I can't use them for Transmigration Series. Transmigration Series is a very specific type of creativity that I think some people have tried to send me sketches and it's not really there. So it's not something that I would use like machine learning for. I don't need to use machine learning. I have that training. I started off drawing and painting by drawing and painting out of my head. I learned the observational aspect later when I went to the conservatory, the high school that I went to. And so, different people have different reasons for creating. And if you decide that you want to create using machine learning, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But just understand that when you get the fundamentals and the tools of your craft, God, there's so much more you can do because you become the creator and you
Right.
start
And
to realize that you always were, right?
right. And I feel like too, the more time you spend with a piece, the more intimate you can be with it. And when you're just typing in a prompt, you don't really get that full experience of really creating that art piece from scratch, from taking this idea that you had in this specific way, how the angles that you had in your mind, the body language, the emotion, like you can kind of get I guess I don't know, general sense if you're able to generate it, AI generate it, but it's not going to be the relationship you could have with it that you would be able to have if you were just, making it from start to finish.
I agree. I agree. I agree. And it's cool because it's kind of like this is a little bit of a freaky thing for people who are spiritual. Okay. It's not freaky to us, but it's freaky to everybody else. You can get to a point of intimacy with your creative process to where when you look at the page, your piece of paper, your pixels on your screen, whatever, you can see the forms. It's like Michelangelo said that he could see the form, he's releasing the form from the rock. That's what Michelangelo said, right? And so you can get to the point to where you see it. You see it, it's there, or you already downloaded it and it's there. You're just trying to project it into the physical space with graphite or with paint or with pixels or however you want to do it with your Wacom Cintiq, right? However you want to do it with your iPad, right? And so you can get to the point to where you're so intimately involved in how that download comes forth that it's already there for you. You're just doing the technical work to make it visible so people can see it.
Yes.
You understand this very well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's so beautifully said. Thank you again, Kamora, for all of this that you've shared with us tonight. And I just want to go ahead now and open the floor for anyone to go ahead and ask Kamora questions. I see we already have Edna. Hi, Edna. It's nice to see you. All right, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, Coffee. Hi, Kamora. I'm so happy to see you again.
Yeah.
I have been a fan of your art for so long. You did a presentation years ago where you actually did a drawing on Portal to Ascension, and I just went out and bought your prints and see, look.
Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. You're amazing. Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah.
I have a few of these actually.
Oh, that's great.
I was just wondering, what I love about your art is the Transmigration series specifically is that no two people will interpret it the same way.
Yeah.
The same way. We all get, different ideas. Oh, she went this way or she went that way, or I'm feeling this, but it just resonated with me. I'm just wondering, you ever going to bring t-shirts back?
I'm working on adapting more of the designs into shirts. It's not a hard thing to do. It's just that I have to make sure that the colors are right. Vi, my spouse, actually helps me with this a little bit sometimes. Like, Vi will take the images and kind of put them on there. But I have to make sure that the colors are calibrated, that they're going to print right, that it's not going to be too dark. I have to order samples, and it's like a whole thing. And so please feel free to send me the ones that you want on the shirt, and I will make that happen. My desire towards the end of the year is to get back into more of the, creating more of the products. It's just a thing that for a while there, as I've been working on the comic and I've been working on the Oracle deck, which I'm still working on, it's sort of gone by the wayside. So yes, absolutely. You just tell me what you want and I'll make a list and we'll get there.
I was actually at a retreat this past weekend and I wore your shirts every day and people were asking me, "Oh, I love that shirt." And I was giving everybody your name. It's Kamora. Gotta look around.
That's so awesome. No, I appreciate you. You're amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah.
That wouldn't happen to be the Zazar retreat, would it?
That was.
Oh yeah, amazing. Okay, Mark, go ahead and ask your question here. And go ahead and unmute yourself.
So I'm only asking this question because I walked into this restaurant and they started asking me about seating and stuff, but I heard like kind of some of what you were saying, and it sounded really beautiful, and I wanted to hear and be able to pay attention and understand the way that you explained being incarnated, and then how you identify yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you just go ahead?
Go ahead. You're good. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to reiterate the question, really. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, I identify as a trans woman, and that is such a divisive thing nowadays, is it not? And I knew I was trans, however you want to identify with that. I knew I was trans when I was maybe like 7 or 8. I just didn't know what it was because at the time, I'm in my mid-40s. So at the time, we didn't have like internet, didn't have a lot of information. I grew up in Vegas, so there were always people who were impersonating women. I was like, is it that? No, it's not that. And so for me, it's been this journey of trying to figure out how I express myself in the world. which has very little to do with a lot of the established concepts of transgender that I've heard from even within the LGBT community. Uh, as an incarnated being, I feel like maybe I planned this and that this is how it's worked itself out. And I think this is good. I think it's good to think of it that way because what it says is that God is trying to evolve the collective consciousness. And you don't have to think of it in a linear way. You can think of it as a multidimensional way. Like, okay, you souls having human experiences have to expand your understanding of what a human is and what a soul is. And that you can be born into a body that is a specific type of biology and has certain parts. And you can express yourself in a way that maybe societally isn't aligned with how one thinks of how one may express themselves in that. That to me is the creativity of God. I don't see any conflict between God and that. I mean, to me, that's what creatures in the wild are doing. That's what everyone's doing. A businessman who chooses to dress in a three-piece suit every day, which it's got to be a lot of work, you're choosing to do that. Maybe your company's telling you need to do that, but you're choosing to do that. As far as me expressing myself the way I do, I've always felt this way. And so in a sense, it isn't a choice in that this is who I am. And when I finally came out and started presenting the way I present, people were like, oh, wow, this seems really natural. Like, I can't remember you before this, which says a lot. So, yeah.
Kind of like when I came out and I went to my best friend, I said, please don't hate me. And she goes, what, are you lesbian? And I'm like, oh God, I can't even tell you. Are you kidding? Anyway, but I think you and I would have a great conversation on this subject.
Yeah, we
Like,
should connect.
seriously, I'm going to put my number in the chat. And if you feel led, please call me.
That sounds great. Hit me up on Instagram, like DM me too, or Facebook, right?
Do we have is it in that email I got?
It's going to be
so.
linked in the chat there too. And yes, it's in the email as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Yeah. Hey, be yourself. Be yourself. There you go.
Yes.
Always. People hate me for it.
So one of the
beautiful, Mark. Go ahead, Zika.
One of the things you said, Kamora, in the interview was you said, what can we become? So what do you think and I have another question if we have time too, but this is my first question is like, what if you were to go forward 5 years or 10 years, like what do you want to happen? Like what can we become?
For me? Well, see, so here's the problem. I can only work on myself, right? So I can put out into the universe through art, through music, through being a public speaker, whatever. I can put things out there and say, hey, what if we became this, guys? Right? But for me, I have to do my work. So for me, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to evolve the way I communicate through my art. It's what I've always been doing. And I just want to get into a deeper, more intimate level of that and try to figure out all the permutations of what that could be and what it is through stories, maybe through an animated series, all kinds of different things, right? So, or just the way it's always been, right? I just did a show with a bunch of physical acrylic pieces from the series, and people really enjoyed the physical painted acrylic pieces, maybe even more so than they enjoy the digital. So what I can become is I can become more of what I am, more authentic version of what I am. What you could become is interesting. It's questionable. What could you become? As a collective, I think we could become more aware of all the things we could become. But it's going to take courage. And I think that these sort of political, xenophobic, biased, prejudicial mindsets are holding us back. That's just me being a little judgmental. But there it is.
Cool. That is the top thing that all of the successful people that found their purpose said. That's the number one pattern is courage.
Yeah.
So you guys that were in Lionsgate or whatever, like, where is your courage not showing up in your life? Because once you get over that, you feel so good and so relieved and so like, okay, this is me. And I don't care if people accept me. And then they start accepting you after you were like, I don't care. So it's like hilarious. Like, but you have to have the courage to figure out who you are because no one else can do it.
If it's your journey, then it's nobody else's job. It's your job, right? And so you have to accept that and accept the fact that it may be hard, but what's hard to me may not be hard for you, may be difficult. Like I can't compare, there's no comparison,
Yeah.
for what you've done, all the work you've done, Zinka, in your life, all the work I've done in my life is relative to the work I've done. It has nothing to do with you. It can impact you like the art impacts you, right? But I did like a lot of freaking work for anybody new what Transmigration Series is, and nobody's going to see that work and nobody has to. Maybe, when you get out of your body, get to the other side, you access the records, you can download all that information if you want. You can pull it all out, look at the light tape, look at the light scrolls, and maybe you can see all of that stuff I did in private, right? But yeah, I'm never going to know all the work you did, and I'm never going to know where you're going unless you share, and you can choose to share or not. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm so excited to bring Dee up. Dee, it's so good to see you.
Hi, sister. What's up? Good to
Great.
see you. Good to
Light
see
language
you.
goddess has arrived.
I've been traveling the ethers, but I'm reformed my material self to be here. I just want to say, Kamora, my heart is bursting with love for you. I
Oh,
am so enamored, inspired. I just have so much admiration. It's funny about light language because sometimes I feel like when I speak my light language, I can express things somehow that I can't in English.
yes, yes.
And I pick up so many transmissions and downloads from your work. I'm almost in tears. If I wasn't so tired, because I'm on the East Coast, so
Oh,
it's 20 to 11 here.
oh, wow, wow.
But and I get up early, so but I just wanted you to know you have impacted me. Your art has impacted me. I went to Parsons in New York.
Oh,
I
wow.
was in commercial art for years. Yeah, and when I first saw your work, oh my gosh, with the transmissions and the coding, and I was just like, this is it. This is the future. We're here.
Oh
So
man,
you
that
are
means a lot
just
coming from a fellow art peer too. That's really that always makes my day. Yeah.
Oh my God. My heart is just beating out of my chest. It's exploding in with love for you. And I know that you can feel that transmission from my heart and my spirit. And I agree with every word that you spoke tonight. It has hit me everywhere on every level in every dimension. And I just want to thank you, thank you, thank you for listening to yourselves and just thank you. Thank you. Your courage, your bravery, your love, your beauty, your honesty, your truth, you're gorgeous in every way. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you so much. That means so much to me. Thank you. You're welcome, and thank you. And I
And I
appreciate
do I
you.
I,
And
I do have a little question.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you
Yeah.
speak language? Do you, speak light language, or do you feel ecstatic states? Like when I draw or paint, I feel this ecstasy. Do you just explode sometimes with that ecstasy? It's almost orgasmic.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. There's a piece of my series. I didn't want to take it too much time, but there's a piece of my series where when I was drawing it, this laughter came over me,
Mm,
and it welled up inside of me. And then sometimes when I draw pieces, there's tears. There's one piece I did, I think it was like beginning of this year, late last year. And I was sitting there and I was crying because of the resonance I had between the energy of the piece and my journey, and it had this impression of home, if you will, built into the coding. And so yeah, I mean, I speak in private, but I know exactly what you mean. I appreciate you so much. You're amazing. Yeah, that's great. When do I get to see your art? Where's your art at?
it's funny. My art has gone underground, and
Uh-huh.
I was listening to Zenka's words, and they really hit and were very much a conviction. Um, I did break out my oils last year, so I'm getting back. But
Yes.
I really I feel like I have been traveling the astral for a while. I've been in deep meditative states, and I think it's weird. I have these years where I go deep inward and then I go outward into the material. Like I go to the quantum and
Yeah,
then I go to the particle.
yeah,
And I feel like
yeah,
the particle manifestation is coming, like it's going to be birthed,
yeah,
but
yeah,
that gestation phase has been a while now,
right.
which was beautiful, and it was necessary, and a lot got purged, and the trauma I had to go to therapy, I had to get on medication for a while.
Hmm.
I had to process a lot of that generational trauma, and man, whoa, I it's interesting because the oil painting that I did back in November, it really showed all the work I had done.
Wow, wow.
So yeah, it'll come out.
Well, I wanted to share with you really quick
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that wasn't a judgmental statement. It was more of a
Oh no, honey, no.
feel free to create as you need to. You'll notice that I haven't posted in a while, and that's for a reason. Partly because
Yeah.
I'm working on the comic right now, and I have a
Yeah.
deadline for that. And then partly because I've had a therapist too, so I've been working on myself
Yeah.
as well. And
Yeah.
so I'm just saying that when you have something to show, I would love to see it. So reach out to me. Let's
Oh,
connect. Okay.
oh, mwah. Love you.
Love you too. Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm gonna bring on Zenka again here. Thank you so much, Dina. That was so gorgeous.
So it's interesting because she was like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I thank you before for being true to yourself and speaking your word. But my question was actually that is, do the beings ever thank you?
I don't know. I feel like thank you is different in different languages and in different cultures, right? So I think of thank you. Okay, so talk about worshiping God in a very religious kind of way, right? In a very religious way, people see worshiping God as going to a building or on their own and singing to God or praising God. I think that by doing your work, that is a type of praise. It is a type of worship unto the collective, but also unto the Creator who created your soul with a purpose. And if that purpose is to gather data about creativity and to create and to expand the idea of what the soul is, then I also think that's a form of worship. So thank you is also a type of vibration that has to do with doing. And so I think it is better to give than to receive. I really think it is. And I think that by giving, even if it's through something as quote unquote insignificant as a drawing or painting, like some people think they are, that's a huge gift and it can bring about a thank you. And so I don't feel like the beings are saying thank you. I feel like the beings are are giving me more because I'm doing. And I think that's the case with anyone who does any kind of work. It doesn't matter if it's spiritual work or if it's very technical civil engineering work. I think if you do, you get more. And that's a form of thank you. And then the people that are affected directly by it are going to be like, oh man, that latest upgrade you came out with on the app is fantastic. Thank you so much. Now I can send 8 million pictures at the same time. Like, so thank you is a vibration in the way that giving is a vibration, in the way that receiving is a vibration. But in some cultures, some interdimensional cultures, some intergalactic cultures, in just in general, I speak more about the spiritual realm. In the spiritual realm, thank you doesn't have to be, articulated in the English thank you. It could be,
Fascinating.
yeah.
That's such a multidimensional like way of thinking about that too. So thank you for sharing that.
All good. Yeah.
Beautiful. Does anyone else have any questions here? I think we have time for one more good one here. But this has just been such a joy to have you on. I mean, this has been so fun. While we're paused, maybe. Oh, here. Oh, Lightnet has another question. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here you go. You're muted.
Okay. Is there anything that you can leak about this comic book, about what it's about, or like
Yeah, yeah.
Well, okay, so chapter 0 of any comic is kind of like an intro into how to think about the world of the characters, right? And so just as I explained some of the concepts within the pieces to you, that's kind of what it is. It's a being who's been indoctrinated into this transmigration organization. I'm not going to say exactly how the organization works. And they're trying to do this experiment that has to do with connecting with the higher self and connecting with the soul group, real time. And so it's about their technology and how they go about it. And it's a very short sort of chapter 0 because my art's like super detailed and I was only able to crank out like 26 pages for this one, or else I'm not going to get it done for the deadline. And so it's really about sort of a primer into how their technology works. Each chapter, though, is going to have a different story, kind of in the way that like Black Mirror does. In that you're going to have different characters. And so some of the stories, as you look back, like in Transmigrate, you can see that some of the soul visuals that I'm drawing are of human souls, not of these ET beings. And so some of the characters in these stories that I've been developing are just human characters who are accessing these interdimensional spaces or these astral spaces through different techniques, sometimes through just more psychedelic altered states, or through meditation states, or through near-death experience states. And then I have a specific places where these things happen. There are different things that work. And so it's really about these beings who are trying to use the technology of consciousness to connect with themselves and to try to understand how this whole creativity, this God creativity thing works. But I'll say more about it, after the 31st, I'll start posting more about it.
Yay! Amazing. Yeah, thank you for that update about that. That's so exciting to hear, like these different projects that are coming to being 28 pages. Girl, that's good. That's like a good amount. I could not imagine. I've tried to do comics a couple times in my life, and I get to page 3, and I'm like, oh my God, this is taking me 6 hours a page because I want to do all the details. So I applaud you for that. Seriously, that is a big commitment. And I actually, while we're on the topic of art, wanted to share some of my own real quick here with the group, if that's cool with everybody. I've been experimenting a little bit with this channeled art. So can everybody see this?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, this was I does anyone know Tony Ghazi by any chance? He works with the mantis beings. He's also calls himself the Antararian Heart, and we collaborated a bit for me to be able to bring forth one of the beings that he has communications with. Cool.
Your technique is beautiful as well. Your painting technique, your drawing technique, your rendering, lighting, everything is the structure. Everything's not got like nice weight. Beautiful work. You're
Thank
amazing.
you so much. Thank you so much. I've been drawing for quite a while, but it's just been like the last 5 years where I've really like perfected my craft, so to speak. And it's about that whole process of, I mean, this, of course, and speaking to the people who are looking to upgrade their own skills, you just find a couple like people that you really admire those art styles about, and then see how you can take techniques and different aspects from their art and translate it into your own artistic style, and then you're able to build off of that, just like Kamora's done. She has a very specific style that she's easily recognized for. And you show a piece of Kamora's art, they're like, oh, I know that artist. They might not even know your name, but they know you. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, but at my day job, I have to do other styles, right? So
Right.
this with training and working in a professional environment, it's you got to do what comes across your desk, right? So
Are you able to show any of your other art just by out of curiosity?
I can show you. I can't show anything from work, but if anybody ever has a chance, if you look at my links on my link tree, you can go to my old website and I can actually show you. You guys might like this one right here. Here, let me show you really quick. Here,
Okay.
let's see, share. Let's share screen 1. We'll do this right here. Share. Yeah, here we go. So you can kind of see here that this is a little,
Whoa.
little different, right? So I had like advanced drawing in like high school. And then I went to college and studied media arts. And so had some figure drawing classes there as well. But I've always had teachers throughout my life as well. So just sort of drawing and painting.
Dude, oh my God, that's so beautiful. She's like becoming a dragon.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That is gorgeous.
I've
So like if
seen
you
that
have
before.
so if you're looking at like that kind of thing, you see like this kind of thing here. This is also very different. And
Mm.
so a big part of my art training had to do with being able to analyze other styles through shape, language, color. In the game dev studio I work in, every game is a different style. And so you have to be able to work in different styles. And so that's a big part of the um, working in sort of a corporate mentality, in sort of a corporate space, being able to not only, do more of the fundamental approach, which is drawing from life or drawing realistically, um, but also being able to just work in different ways. Yeah.
Oh wow, I love that one. That's super cool. Can you zoom into that one a little bit?
I cannot from this. It's yeah.
Oh, okay, no worries. But that's so cool. Oh wow, Medusa. Hell yeah. Awesome. That's so badass. Oh wow. That's cool. Have
Yeah.
you worked on any like games that have been published recently that I know of? Possibly. I game sometimes,
I work
so
in a, I work in a very different type of gaming. I won't talk about it here because it's totally different
okay,
from what
okay,
we're talking
okay.
about here. But
Fair enough.
it's just, games are interesting because if you have a game that's very cartoony, you have to work in that style. If you work in a game, on a game that's a little more realistic, you have to work in that style. And sometimes you may do like a photo painting, photo bashing kind of thing, where other times you may create things from scratch and literally do cool characters and have to sketch every element out, all the lands, all the structures. And so I'm just here to say that, if you want to draw and paint, you can train, you can take online courses. If you want to play music, there's ways to learn that. There's mentors everywhere. And some of us, it isn't just about the one style. I really do have to shift between modes. And it's kind of an interesting thing. That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Super cool. Well, yes, thank you for sharing that. And I've learned how to do a couple different styles throughout my life too. I'm sure, I mean, you've been on some of my art pages, so you
Yeah.
can probably see.
Yes.
But
Awesome work.
yeah, it's so fascinating, so inspiring. And I just want to thank you again for being here with us on the show, Kamora, because this has just been a dream. And Zenka, if you want to come on and close us out.
Awesome, awesome. So as we said, Kamara's going to come back in 2 weeks to actually do a workshop with all you guys. She's going to show you how she does this, what her approach is, and it's very like behind the scenes, and so it's a really unusual chance. You can go to starseedacademy.org and look at the calendar. You can just get her workshop, or you can actually join us as a member and get 72 events all year with all the spoon bending and the community and things like that. So thank you for your courage. As we've said, I cannot wait to see your career. You're really changing collective consciousness to be curious about telepathy, or, how we can like take our body and put it in a screen and analyze all of it's bringing us into new ways of thinking and new ways of being. So you're such a futurist, and we're grateful that you're so humble and so real and so focused. So thanks again.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
So are you. Amazing. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you all have just such a great, amazing night. And this video will be up on our YouTube and on New Realities and Portal to Ascension momentarily. I think I forgot to have it live streamed there. So all of you who have been here, we're actually like the cool people. So anyways. But thank you again, Kamora, and I will reach out to you very soon because you're just doing such amazing things. And yes,
Looking forward
good
to it.
night, everyone.